The last topic of Chapter 3, Political and Legal Factors, is data security. Data security is concerned with keeping data safe from various hazards that could destroy or compromise it. It means that data security is one of the most important areas in storing your data. It can be divided into two risks. First, physical risk. Data security, one thing important to be remembered is if you store the data in an unsafe place, for example, there's a fire hazard or the risk for flooding in the storage, then your data will be lost because of the physical risk in case of fire or flood. And next is human risk. You keep your data well, but it's very easy to be accessed by anybody or everyone. So the access is gained without any control. It means that any unauthorized user can go into your system or your database to steal your data or to destroy your database. For example, hacking affected by virus or fraud. These two types of risk is under the concern in the topic of data security. Here is an example about a data security issue. It's happened in the United Kingdom. A very famous company was affected. In 2018, hackers gained access to an airline database to access the personal and payment card details. This airline name is British Airways. Over 430,000 data, both customers and staff, were hacked by the cyber attack. Even worse, British Airways was unnoticed about what's happening for more than 2 months. And this security failure led to significant loss of reputation and fine ordered by the UK government. It's very bad to the company or to the British Airways. Initially, the fine is over 180 million British pounds, but because of the COVID, it's agreed to reduce the fine down to 20 million British pounds. However, the reputation, the image of British Airways in cybersecurity is severely affected. In addition to the fine, British Airways has to pay or compensate any people or any persons lost due to the data leak. But the amount is confidential because it's the agreement between British Airways and the customer. Next, data security is mainly on 5 main risks to computer system and the data. So we discussed 5 different risks about data security. The first risk is physical damage. As said, there are physical risks. So the physical risks like fire, flooding, all these are physical damage to the storage. That is the risk to the computer system and the data. Other examples like terrorist attacks, or heat, or cold, any physical or environmental damage to the computer systems are grouped under that physical damage. Next is human damage, such as unauthorized access. It resulting from, say, a leak of data, affecting the privacy issues, is human damage caused by the human interference. And then is operational problems. It's a bit different from the human damage because it's caused by the program bugs, for example, maybe the user operational errors, but not the unauthorized persons to do it. And then it's data corruption. Examples as viruses. The viruses from any software or from any external parties go into the system, then the data corruption, it is one of the risks for the data. And the final risk is data theft. It means that some of data are loss of confidentiality due to leaking or theft caused by the data theft. So we have 5 different data security risks here: physical damage, human damage, operational problems, data corruption, and data theft. So for each of the risks, there are countermeasures that you have to remember, because some of the ACCA questions are focusing on how to counter the risk as mentioned above. The first, the physical damage. Physical damage the risk can be minimized, say by well-documented fire procedures. How to avoid the fire to damage the database or the storage area. So if you have a well-documentation to do it, the very clear and organized procedures to prevent it, then the risk of physical damage can be reduced. Train the staff. Train the staff is also very important, because when all the staff know how to reduce the risk, say how to protect your database or how to protect your computer, then your physical damage, the risk is reduced as well. And some prevention of fire hazards, like to put fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, fire doors, all these are eliminating the fire risk. And then is computer equipment. It's better for those equipments located in a segregated area in which air conditioning and dust controls operate effectively. In many offices, the computer equipment, they will storage separately from the other office areas. They are not putting close to the toilet, for example, like to say, they are putting the computer equipment room in a very secure place, not close to the toilet, not close to the pantry, not close to the kitchen, whatever. So the equipment put inside the room can be running properly, and the risk for fire, for flooding is reduced. Another thing to reduce the physical damage or the risk of physical damage is to backup. Use the backup generators. It helps to reduce the risk of data loss due to the physical damage of the computer equipment. And then it's about the off-site facilities. It is to cater for the possibility of total destruction of the in-house computer equipment. In other words, it is another type of backup facilities or backup generators. Okay, you have the backup generators, but also you have the off-site facilities to reduce your risk if the total loss of your equipment in one place. As said, off-site backup copies of data files, it helps to reduce the risk of any physical damage to your data. And next, human damage. How to avoid the risk or reduce the risk of human damage? First, you have set the password or the PIN codes to access your computer room. It means that only restricted persons can go into the room to do their jobs. Not everyone can go into the restricted area. And then it's better to have the closed circuit TV and security guards to monitor the computer room, which any unauthorized persons go into it, it's highly monitored and alert the systems, the guards to do anything to prevent it. Hardware. The hardware can be physically or electronically tagged to sound an alarm if it is removed from the building. It is a computer equipment security measures, because if you put any alarm for the when the people go into the computer room, then it's good, okay, because it reduces the risk of any loss of computer equipment and loss of data. And hardware can be locked down, okay. It's similar concept as putting your hardware or computer in a safe place. And then we go into the operational problem, how to reduce the risk on operational problem. So there are 3 measures. First, testing of new programs. So you have a thorough testing of new program to ensure there's no bugs or no any other operational issues of the programs, so your operations can run in a smooth way. Next is strict operating procedures. It helps the strict operating procedures, okay, if you have documents about the operating procedures, you have the next step is to adequate training for all staff members, because if you only have the procedures, the documents, but you don't train the members or the staff of your organization, then it is no use. So these 2 points, the strict operating procedures and the adequate training, they're mutually important. Okay, you cannot say just train but no procedures. It cannot work. Or you just have the procedures but no training to staff members. It doesn't work as well. So you have 2 things. One is you have the proper documents about the operating procedures. Next, you have proper training or adequate training to all your staff members. So the 4th risk we just mentioned is data corruption. And how to reduce the data corruption risk? There are 3 measures as below. First, if it's better or it's very good to have the antivirus or firewall software to keep your system running properly. And then you have the password and user number limits. User number limits or password number limits is a way to ensure the user put in the password in a more secure way. Say, for example, you allow the password, just type 123 is your password, 3-digit password, and the security level is not good. Sometimes the system asks the end user to input at least 8-digit password in order to make sure there's a complexity and not easy for the hackers to go into the system. Off-site backup copies of data files. So as mentioned in the physical damage, the countermeasure, one of the countermeasures is to have the off-site backup copies. So to ensure no data corruption, the off-site backup copies of data files is another suggestion to reduce the risk. The last risk of data security is data theft, and the countermeasures include data encryption techniques. Okay, you have encrypt the data, even the data lost or theft or data theft. The one who own the database cannot, okay, they don't know how to encrypt the database, so they just got the data file, but they cannot use the data because they don't know how to open the file, for example. The same as data corruption, okay, you have the data password and user numbers, highly secured numbers or highly secured passwords in order to avoid any data risk from data theft, even it is lost. But the people got the data, they don't know how to open the file. Physical access controls. It means that you keep the data in a computer room. You have very good or highly secured procedures to go into the computer room. So it has a very good physical access control, then it avoids for any risk in data theft. Here is a question about data security. Ragu Limited holds data about many of its customers. It has recently set up an off-site backup of this data to improve its data security. So it has the countermeasures off-site backup of the data file and to reduce one of data security risk. And the question is asking which potential data security threats will this measure most likely reduce. So there are 4 options: hacking, data theft, viruses, fire or flood. And remember, we have 5 main risks to computer systems and the data. And make it simple, okay, to this question is just put an offsite backup, improve one of data security risk. So which items you think is most appropriate to answer this question? Okay, from one location and then to offsite means another location. So whether it is physical damage risk, whether it reduces the human damage risk, operational problems, data corruption, or data theft. So only one answer is correct here, or most appropriate. So please select one of them.